Yeah, these are just shots that I've done that, I always think in terms of groups. So when I go shoot, for example, in Miami, I just was thinking that similar feel throughout.
You were telling me about this one photographer that had somewhat of a similar feel.
I've seen it before, I've seen multiple photos or photos kind of put side by side that kind of help tell a story. James Minchin is a guy that um, he shoots a lot of like musicians and celebrities and things like that. He's out in LA, and I ran across him about less than a year ago. And what's funny is that like this shot, for example, is very much sort of something James Minchin might do. I mean, that was an afterthought is putting these together.
Do you? I mean, maybe at that point it was an afterthought. Do you think like that now, or
I do think a lot like this now. I mean, obviously this shot kind of works by itself. This one, but then with this one, at the time when I was doing this, I was thinking more of an editorial, but I never really thought about putting them side by side.
who's the dorky kid?
I shot my friend Caroline. We decided to go shoot, and I was trying out the ND filter. I just gotten it and wanted to, really kind of nail it down. And this kid was like lived there at the mobile home park, and he had that toy gun, and I went, I've just got to take advantage of that. Like he's got his Boy Scout pants thing on.
Yeah.
Don't know why this is even in this
But
collection.
it's quite interesting. I mean, what made you do that line on the left-hand side? I mean, what? I mean,
These are a couple of gradients. It's actually gradients from maybe a different photo, and I just threw it in there. Actually, her hair was a lot less than that, but I took two images and kind of put them together and just masked out one face. Yeah, I was just experimenting. It's kind of a nice technique.
it kind of looks cool. I like this whole kind of straight edge look to a round face and a round picture.
Yeah, just totally goofing around. I sometimes will just kind of go for a mistake. I mean, obviously, I knew that her head was being blown off by the sun, but it sort of works, and it's even out of focus. But
And now I like. I was telling you about this earlier. I really quite like this picture on the right-hand side. It almost.
yeah, it's got that old kind of '50s feel with the thing around her head, and then the weird bugged out. It's a beauty dish actually to give her the kind of the bug eyes.
Yeah, the highlight is just.
But it kind of reminded me of like a B movie flick from the 1960s or something like that, where it's like kind of spooky and scary.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
But
And then
I
this
kind
one's just got weird lighting. The one to the left, it's just not a very flattering image because of the lighting.
yeah, I was looking at that. I don't.
It's
I
not
really
flattering for her at all.
no. Yeah, I agree.
But that's just. So I'm like, okay, well, it's my phone.
Okay.
I can do whatever the hell I want.
Now this image is very nice.
What is it about that you like?
See, I mean, it's a lot of people kind of go for lighting the subject, but
You can't even see him,
but,
barely.
but you can kind of, and the background is lit, and I found that to be extremely.
What was funny is that I think this was one we were doing. It was actually a creative live set, and Knut Bell hung out with him a few times. He's a musician there, but I think we were building the lights, and that was a test shot just at the background. And I thought, wow, that actually works. And then this is a shot near his home of the trees in Conway, Washington, and I just thought that the lines in each kind of go together,
And
and
I
it's an
like that
afterthought as well.
if you see that little tree on the right hand side, it kind of continues into the highlight.
When I go through and do the edit of the two together, that was intentional. So I crop them or move them and manipulate them, and so that there is a flow.
Yeah, it moves you towards the sub. But before
They don't doesn't always work like in this one, but it definitely works because there's a triangle here in the bottom of the boat, and then a triangle with the
Oh,
mast.
okay, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not thinking in my mind, oh, triangles, but
just
you-
whatever flows.
you have to find what flows. Like there's definitely patterns here with the mule with the hay coming out of his mouth,
And then
and the
this-
shape of the aloe vera, and this broken ball. They go together. And look at this one. It's actually the same image.
Oh, you cut it. You cut it in half.
I cut it in half and then I moved it over, and it was, I guess, a guy and his pig. I don't know.
I thought that's really interesting that you've actually turned one of them black and white.
Yeah, like this one's done sort of the same thing. I don't really know, other than maybe it kind of says something, helps tell a story a little bit better, makes you focus on each of them separately.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where your eye is drawn, whether it's kind of like a book where you read right to left, or if it matters. I try to think about that sometimes, but it doesn't always work because you want the images to connect somehow, like see how the walls sort of connect.
Yeah.
If I had flipped that over, that dark wall wouldn't work
yeah,
against the bright wall so much.
If you go back to the last two images, I quite like those two because they really, really tell a story. They go from where the home of the person is, and then this family that you were telling me about, and how
there are people that live on the Amazon River, and so it does help tell a story that you can see their house, and then there they are inside of the house. And how would you take that photo in one photo? So individually, they're not the best images, but together they really work. So that's the beauty of kind of this.
Putting two together, yeah. I see.
And those were just two photos that I really like with the handprints on the wall and the guy and the kind of dirty looking Amazon River.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't, but this is back behind the scenes stuff.
This image I was telling you that it almost looks like that's a flash.
It's the sun, and that's the 24 to 70 with the nano coating that supposedly doesn't get a good flare. But man, some of my best images have gotten some good flare out of it. But it's you never know when it's going to happen.
I always tell you that I quite like flare. So
yeah, and that lens is obviously you wouldn't buy it to get flare, but it's capable. So don't try it.
Now I was telling you about this picture, and I cannot rave enough about this picture. I like this picture a lot. And I was telling you how that little highlight on his tattoo and then this little armband from his party yesterday.
It just looks like an old image to me. Other than the armband, obviously you can tell that's modern, going to bar, disco or something. But it just looked timeless. There's Canute again from that series. Oh, I didn't even notice it. Look, you can see the gap here. Now that I see that, it bothers me.
I like this series though.
It's cool. Yeah, they were cool, and he's kind of a country artist, but he's into kung fu and into martial arts. Oh. So he happened to have his kung fu outfit with him. I don't know if he's practicing or the day before or something. And I'm like, can you put it on? So it just seemed to. It made him a little eerie. He's already kind of a big dude. I don't think he's going to use those images for marketing collateral, but they were cool nonetheless. And he's a really cool dude. That's my buddy Paolo. Yeah. There's a better photo of this, but sometimes I like to pick out the one that's
the odd ones,
the oddball one that everyone would look at and go, "Well, it's not right, and it's not in focus, and the lighting's wrong, and composition's horrible." And I'm like, you know what? That's the one I'm going to pick because I like it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it is your art. Now, you were telling me about this picture. This is a photographer, isn't it?
It's a photographer. He shoots film. He's in Armenia, Colombia. It's in the heart of the coffee region, and there's a photography school there. And they had heard of me and just were so nice. Please come visit us. We'll set up a shoot with you. We'll go take you around. I mean, I actually stayed at the owner's. I stayed and slept the night at the studio. He's insistent that I stay the night there, and they had a mattress for me and pull it out, and I stayed there. It was awesome.
And you were telling me about how the lighting was so interesting because it's very interesting.
A little difficult because I was using flags for the first time, and there was definitely a light that you can see from above coming down across. You can see where the light is in the shadow and the nose, and then there was another light opposite side of just a fill that's two or three stops underexposed, and then I controlled it on part of his face with a flag so that it's just lighting up in the front of his face only.
And I like you put the flag exactly to the point where you can see his facial structure.
Yeah, and then you see the hard line on the other side and then a hard line on the flag side. So it just. He's a cool dude, but I wish I'd had a different.
With the lighting so perfect like that, it's so
It actually he was the stand-in for the military guy. So there is the shot I wanted. It's just not here in this series. It's the guy with a machine gun, and he looks like fucking G.I. Joe, dude. It's fucking badass.
Oh, nice.
I made him look a little evil. And I think he was such a sweet, nice guy. That's the only downside.
That's I find that seriously like interesting when it comes to lighting and how you could, as a photographer, light someone to make him look evil or nice just by use of light.
It's totally true. I mean, poor Knut Bell is the nicest, sweetest guy in the world, but he does look like a mean motherfucker.
Yeah, I know.
It's like he's like a modern day Ozzy Osbourne cowboy or something. But it's still cool. I like it. They were different. She was. This was shot in the morning, so you can see the sunlight on her legs, the natural light, and then I used a softbox or a beauty dish. I don't remember over there. So the light's coming from two different angles, but who cares? Look at her.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Now, we were talking about this picture earlier. And there was a story about this picture, and I was liking the whole kind of eerie look to it, and it works with her face covered and the fact that...
I was giving a presentation to a camera club in Hong Kong at a bar. I did a few of those, actually. And this girl had approached me, her name is Catherine, and said, I'd really like to get portraits done. And she'd kind of been through something traumatic in her life that she had told me. And the portraits were something that she'd wanted to do, and that for some reason during sharing my photos of the Amazon around the world, she was touched by it and wanted me to take her photos. One of the things I did is I kind of purposely lit this with an empty face, because it was a rough time in her life. Obviously I gave her some pretty photos as well, but that's why I did that. So I think about that sometimes.
One of the things I quite like about this picture is the fact that it is shaken. And it works. It works. The shaken and the covered face works in this picture.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where the ISO, I was bumping the ISO up, and the sun was gone away, and I was trying to pull out some detail in that crazy clouds that were hanging over, and too slow of a shutter speed. That's where an ISO, but it works. So it's one of those moments I got lucky. Imagine if I had, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but.
You could have packed up and left it.
Probably it wasn't. I don't know. I just thought she was cool. Miss Singapore. That was shot in Singapore. Nothing really special about it other than...
You told me a really interesting story about this. That was very touching, actually.
Yeah, she was living along the Cau River, and we drove over that river. So she was living in this little teeny town called Puente Iglesias. It's basically 3 or 4, like a restaurant and a bar, not even like a real proper bar, it's like a shack. And that's it. Wow. And they were living along the water, and I was like, she just had kind of a pretty face. And I asked her if I could take her photo, and she said no, didn't look good. So she comes back like 15 minutes later and taking pictures of some other kids or something. And she's got makeup on, her hair is done the best that she can do, and she's put her best outfit on. And this girl has nothing. And that's her dog. This is the best part you'll love. Guess what the dog's name is?
No idea what.
Paco.
No way.
Paco, our assistant Paco. And then, so I'm like, you got to get a shot with the dog. And Paco goes to me, and he goes, that dog's name's Paco. I went, oh my God. So I had to get a shot of her and Paco.
The thing I like about this as well is because you mentioned something you've done after. Because you've printed these pictures, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't fail to mention that we printed the photos of the kids and some of the people that we visited there in this little town, and actually sent them. There was a friend of mine has a house in the country near there, and I just said, can you just drop them off to anybody, because it's such a small town. You just hand this envelope full of photos, and that they're going to get them somehow. And I did confirm that he had dropped them off.
That's very nice.
But I'd be neat to go back and see
the reaction.
Can you show me your photo?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. What did they do with it? Like, where did the photo go? Did they get it? Or I don't know. That'd be cool.
That'd be interesting.
I've done that before. Have you done that? I've printed photos and given them to people before.
I've done the...
it's very rewarding.
I've done the help portrait once.
That's cool. I've done it as well.
And like you, it was very, very contrived, very, very lit, very posed. And
I did it one time, not that way at all. I just said, I'm going to shoot it however I want. And I went to where the poor people were. So it's not exactly 100% help portrait, other than making people feel really good that are, that don't have a whole lot. And lives are maybe a little tougher, and they've never had a photo taken. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Some of the people.
I mean, this girl's never had a photo like this taken.
And some of them haven't even seen the back of a camera.
Right. But they were all really nice. It's just a weird photo. I've been looking for weird stuff lately.
It just says America.
This was in Dallas and Texas and Fort Worth, Texas. And it's very, very American.
Yeah,
the flags and
Bel Air.
patriotic and look at old Bel Air with the flags. It was probably taken around 4th of July, I think. I can't remember. The very American. That's not.
Yeah.
You know, every now and then there's a
some,
leg in a bed.
There has to be a leg in the bed. Yeah.
Actually, it was I just took that. We actually had taken photos. I shouldn't give the secret away. I probably shouldn't.
No, you should.
I won't. I have a very, very good way of viewing great locations. And, oh well. I'll save it for another video.
I actually quite like this picture.
Dude, I do too, because
really
that's probably exactly how the kid's bedroom looked when he left in 1979. Probably
Can
has
you
not
tell
changed.
people what?
I had that poster in my room as a kid.
Can you tell people where you got this picture?
It was in a little town called Tarso, and decided to go walk around and take pictures, and just knocked on this lady's door, and she said her house was a mess, and of course everything was like neat as a pin, and maybe not the prettiest, but just started taking photos, and I saw this Farrah faucet in one of the bedrooms on the wall, and I went, oh my god, I have to take a picture.
It's a beautiful picture.
And then the lines in the bed go with the Mexican blanket behind Farrah.
The colors. Yeah, it's so nice.
And almost every dude from that era, from the 70s, had that poster.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll stop it.